Crazy fam, the most beautiful, badass, and positive community out there. It's time to take a look at this build, which I truly believe is gonna be one of the most amazing builds next season. And there's a few reasons for that. Obviously, we got the quick draw nerf coming in, and whether we like it or not, it's gonna happen. And it's gonna hurt quite a few builds. So let's take a look at this one that I'm gonna be rocking for next season, guys.
Some beautiful person has made a beautiful donation.
Jesus, that scares me every time. Hey!
Tiptoe the Gray donated $5 through Super Chat.
Woo! Hey, Gray, with a $5 donation. The Twitch stream was lit. Keep up the good work. Also, balls, says Gray. Hey, Gray, I appreciate the energy, man. I truly do. The support from you guys is just absolutely insane. You guys are the best, dude. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you all once again. For everyone that doesn't know, we are also streaming on Twitch starting yesterday. We had a really cool stream. And yeah, make sure to move on to Twitch and drop a follow there. That helps out a lot. So now let's get back to the video. And Gray, thank you once again. Now, as you guys can see, this build is a 100 build with max mobility, max recovery, max intellect with Dragon Shadow. Now, the only downside of this build currently is low resilience. Obviously, we only have tier 2 resilience, which really isn't the perfect case scenario, but you can't have it all. You gotta sacrifice something, and for me personally, this is really worth it because I feel like the other benefits you get from this build, even though we have only tier 2 resilience, outweighs all the negatives that comes from having tier 2 resilience. Especially as a hunter, when you have max recovery and max mobility, the survivability is still out of this world, and you can get out of situations super fast and then recover super fast. So as mentioned, for me personally, this is absolutely worth it. Now, the reason I'm going to be rocking the Dragon Shadow next season most of the time is because of the quick draw nerf. We all know that Dragon Shadow was, even before all of these changes, absolutely amazing. But starting next season, I guarantee you this exotic just goes to that next level, and you will see it being used all over the place just because of its exotic perk, which we're going to take a look at right now. Wraith Metal Mail. Dodging reloads all weapons and increases both movement and weapon handling speeds for a brief time. Ladies and gentlemen, it does say brief time, but it's 10 seconds, okay? So which means that when you have max mobility, you dodge, and then you pretty much have Wraith Metal perk up for 10 seconds. Meanwhile, your dodge is coming back, you dodge again, and you just keep having all these benefits at all times, which is amazing. So if you're kind of afraid of the quick draw nerf and you're a hunter, this is the build you want to be rocking next season. Another thing that makes this overall setup with the 100 stats and the Dragon Shadow so very strong, guys, is that you can pretty much use any weapon setup. It doesn't matter what you're running, hand cannon or sniper, hand cannon or shotgun, fusion rifle, sidearm. This benefits any kind of playstyle, and that's why I love Dragon Shadow so much. This exotic is just too good. And if you're not using it now, you definitely want to be using it next season. But even now, to be honest, this thing is badass. You should definitely grab it from the vault. Take the dust off, just like that. Just like that. Slap it on that beautiful body. Get out there and annihilate enemies. Let me tell you that. We also know that there are like new stasis weapons coming out, such as the sidearm, for example. And from the trailer, we can tell that it's gonna be freezing people, guys. Okay, I don't know exactly how it's gonna work. Probably in some way, shape, or form, it's gonna perform like the Devil's Ruin sidearm. Probably a bit different. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But the point is, it freezes people in some way, which is amazing, right? Now, if you're using that sidearm and it doesn't feel, for example, the way you want it to feel, the handling is pretty low, or in general, you're using any kind of weapon with quick draw that you had in the past, and now, you know, it's got a nerf, the handling isn't there, or you just don't want to think about that reload speed at all times, that is when the Dragon Shadow comes in. But not only that, but this one gives you plus 50 to your mobility stat every time you dodge. So you can run 50 mobility instead of tier 10, for example, and every time you dodge, you're going to be at max mobility. Now, for me personally, I always still prefer to have the mobility at max because there are some situations where you can die and then you have to wait for your dodge to regen. And in that case, you want to have the mobility as high as possible so you get that dodge back faster. So you don't have to wait, let's say 19 seconds or 20 seconds. So for me, max mobility is a must on a hunter. And then obviously max recovery. I don't know which exactly, in my opinion, would be better in terms of which one you want to prioritize first. Probably somewhere 50-50 for me. But the higher both of these stats are, the better it is. Trust me, it will take your game to that next level. And then obviously, guys, we have max intellect. Now, we know that another nerf to the stasis subclass is coming. Specifically, it's targeting the super and the radius of the super initial hit, which is gonna probably change up the game. And let's say you're not using stasis anymore next season, right? And this build is still gonna be amazing because having max intellect, especially with the light subclasses, guys, is gonna bring you that super back so fast that, trust me, it's gonna be a game changer in any mode, not just in competitive, not just in sixes, but it will work really well, especially in trials. Like, trials is a mode currently where people just, you know, unfortunately stand around walls, sword peek, emote, and just play the long game when it gets very, very intense. And in those cases, whoever gets that super faster usually wins the game. And in that case, this build is also really good because you have max intellect, max recovery, max mobility. There's just nothing you can do better in terms of the stats when we're talking about this build. So for the next season, if you haven't yet, or if you're still thinking on what stats you want to prioritize, what you want to main in that next season, I would tell you right now to start working on a build with the Dragon Shadow. Get your mobility and recovery and intellect as high as possible. Now, if you do want higher resilience, guys, if you take a look at this build, you can always sacrifice a bit of, let's say, intellect right here or recovery, get this up all the way to tier 4 or even tier 5, and then sacrifice some recovery. Let's say drop this to tier 8, and then you can drop the intellect to tier 8 also. That is your choice. For me personally, I feel like having these stats at max is just more viable. I feel like it is, you get a lot of benefits from having all of these 3 stats at max. But once again, that's just my humble opinion. If you feel like you want to have that higher resilience, that's completely up to you. Now, when it comes to strength, you guys see that I'm running tier 4 strength. But then again, when you're running the Gambler's Dodge, you don't really need that high stat value because as long as you're getting closer to your enemies and dodging, you're instantly getting your melees back. And this can be true for any subclass, light or darkness. So for me, tier 4 is more than enough because how the maps in Destiny 2 work in general, they're pretty small. So all the encounters are close to mid-range. There's very rarely like extremely long range encounters. So you will be getting closer to your enemies and you will be dodging, and which means that you will be getting your melees back consistently. So I wouldn't waste time on having like extremely high stats in terms of the strength. However, if you want higher discipline, obviously the same goes for this stat. You can sacrifice some of the other mods to get your discipline a bit higher, or you can use something like the Traveler's Chosen sidearm, which gives you tons of your energy back. And in that case, guys, you don't have to worry about discipline or strength anyway. So those are all the choices you can focus on for the next season. I feel like these are the stats you want to be running. This is definitely the exotic you want to be focusing on, especially if you're running shotguns, hand cannons, or snipers and hand cannons. Whatever it is, Dragon Shadow was always amazing, but starting next season, ladies and gentlemen, it is going to that next level. You're going to be seeing a lot more of this exotic in the Crucible. The goal is to find the perfect armor pieces where I can have all of this, but a bit higher resilience on top of it. Like, if I can make that happen, that is the perfect case scenario, okay? That's the dream. That's the goal right there. And I'm going to make it happen. It's not far away, Crazy Fam. It's not far away. You guys know the RNG on this channel is on a completely different level, and we are going to get those drops pretty soon. And once we do, we pop that resilience up a bit, and that's it. End of story. That is the perfect build. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's already perfect, okay? It's absolutely beautiful, deadly, badass at the same time, but just have that resilience on top of all of that would make it just slightly better, just slightly deadlier, and that's what I'm looking for.